look familiar. Maybe it's because I've been hiding under your bed.
What you guys are looking at here is something that none of us really ever knew existed until about, I don't know, 2 to 3 months ago, if not less. What this is that this is the Gemmy life-size 6-foot animated, I would just call it a Psychotic Clown. It sort of kind of represents the Joker due to the...
Oh, did I scare you? Good. You taste much better when you're scared.
Anyway, this thing's really sensitive to sound and motion. But what this is that this is actually an unreleased prototype of the Psychotic Clown. And if we had to guess the year on this thing due to its being a pole-based animatronic, I would have to say it was intended to be released during the 2013 season. And it was also intended to be released at Spirit Halloween with the clown theme. But unfortunately, this one didn't take the role. As far as we know, there's only one known to exist. Might be two for all we know. But what we do know is that this was definitely unsuccessful in the marketing industry. Apparently it didn't catch enough interest animation-wise for this to go on the production line and head to Spirit Halloween in 2013. And it's unfortunate because the looks of this thing is just absolutely demonic. I mean, the clown face is extremely detailed. The lights light up. But then again, the animation isn't all that attention-grabbing. It basically just kind of shakes and jiggles around. And I'll get to the mechanics of that in just a few minutes. But it's definitely different. You don't see this too often. This has unreleased and unused phrases that have never been heard before. And as clearly you've heard two out of the several that it actually has. Now this is not mine. It was intended... I was intending on buying this thing at one point, but then I just kind of backed off because I'm not the kind of person, I mean, this room isn't really the kind of room that would have all these really neat little small knickknacks and then have a nice 6-foot Psychotic Clown in the very middle. Although, the value it holds as a prototype is pretty substantial. It doesn't fit my collection. It fits more of Donovan's because he has a lot of he's a big horror fan and likes the life sizes. And don't get me wrong, I do too, but I don't specialize in him like in these things that he does. So, in return, for I guess you could say turning over the clown to him, because of course I was going to buy it at one point, but I didn't have the money to get it immediately, so he bought the clown for me to repair first of all. And sadly I did not make a restoration video on this thing because of how complex it was. It wasn't really like Francis. It was a little bit more tedious than Francis was, because I just knew that the head needed to be glued on Francis, the two head pieces and everything.
Aw, don't run away. You'll just die tired.
This thing's pretty goofy, to be honest with you, but the spring-loaded head mechanism, or it's not really a mechanism, it's just a spring-loaded head piece, is put together by several different springs in a separate order, and all that was completely knocked out. So what I had to do is I had to basically put all the puzzle pieces back together in this one head piece, reattach it to the molded head itself, and hope that it doesn't break off. And it's not going to break off, guys. I made sure and harnessed it with different types of screws to harness it correctly so it'll actually perform its job as well. And I'll get to that in a minute. Details wise, the fabric is made out of the same type of fabric you would find on any Halloween or Christmas inflatable, that's thin nylon. But the head is a whole different story. And it'll probably go off. But the head is actually really, really big. A lot bigger than a standard life-size head. It's probably a little bit bigger than the bear head. And you know that thing's huge. It stands about 6 foot even. Like I said, the attire, the clothes that go on this thing are very simple. It's got the orange and polka dotted and then purple on the other side. It's pretty cool, but it's just thin nylon sheets of sewn fabric that you would find on an inflatable. The head is very well detailed, all hand painted here and sculpted, but the thing is, the head is extremely heavy for a life size, and for it to be spring loaded is even more intimidating because of the fact that those pieces in there are so fragile that it just might break off, and the next thing you know, the whole thing's history. Which happened in the first place, but luckily I was able to repair it. Now here is the piece I had to restore. I had to fit it up back inside the head and insert 2 Loctite screws on each side to go back into the holes like it's supposed to. And then I had to reattach these little slits with springs on them so it would balance itself out and not just fling itself all over the place until the head snaps off and shatters into a million pieces. Because this is a really thin plaster mold. This is not like just thin plastic, it's a plaster mold. So if this thing falls on the ground accidentally, it's done. It's just like Francis. I like the hair. I like how it's kind of sort of represented to be the Joker, because the green, you know, the attire, all that sort of matches his appearance, somewhat of an appearance. But I still like it a lot. But, like I said, I felt after a few months of thinking and debating on whether I should just keep this or buy it off of Donovan or just let him keep it, basically, we decided that he could keep it. And then I can get a few other prototypes with some simple trades that I kind of wanted off of him at one point. And I did get the prototype, so that was pretty cool. Motion sensors down here, but this is the only thing that I don't like about it. This is a pole-based animatronic life size, but it's only one pole. And the thing is, it shakes and it jiggles around, but it really puts a lot of pressure on that joint right there. As you can see, it's all hand-molded down there. The shoes are handcrafted there. No severe paint loss there. There is some paint loss on the hands here, but that can be easily repainted in a span of a couple of years. But anyways, I got 4 minutes left on my battery. Let me stop talking and show this thing in action.
That's it. Come closer. I've got something for you. And it's not a balloon.
And before you say, oh, it's broken, it doesn't work right, that's exactly how it's supposed to work. The mechanism that's in it is actually a dancing mechanism that you would find in a Santa, a snowman, or a bear. But it's pointed straight forward. It's pointed towards us instead of on the side of it like that. So with that being said, it's got a knob and it pushes up and down on the clown head, which makes it kind of bob up and down. And this arm is not connected to any joints of the mechanism. This arm is just kind of static. This one is, on the other hand, which is why you see it flinging around a lot more. But yeah, just to get that clear.
Go ahead. Run away. I'll just catch up with you later. In your nightmares.
And I did pose the arm, so the arm works a lot better now.
You've never met a clown like me before. And you never will again.
As you can see from a side angle, the movement is a lot more visible.
Hey, you look familiar. Maybe it's because I've been hiding under your bed.
And from the way I can see it, it seems to me that they would have added a knife into this hand at one point because of how one arm moves. You know, it can move the knife up and down. You get what I'm saying. I do like the background music.
That's it. Come closer. I've got something for you. And it's not a balloon.
And the thing is, it doesn't look like it works perfectly, but guys, it's a designed prototype. It's not going to look or work perfectly. It's not meant to be. That's just how it was. It was hand sculpted. The head is ridiculously heavy, which is why it ain't flinging around everywhere, which is actually a lot better for it because that's just a less likely chance of it snapping off, which is great.
Go ahead, run away. I'll just catch up with you later in your nightmares. You've never met a clown like me before, and you never will again.
I can definitely see this one being called like the convulsing clown or something. There's no official name for it because there's not even a stock photo of it. There was just the photo that the seller had, and that was it. So the rest is kind of unknown.
Hey, you look familiar. Maybe it's because I've been hiding under your bed.
Play it one last time for you.